Hi guys and welcome to this lesson. Now in this lesson we're going to pick up right where we left off from the last lesson. So as you can see, I still have my console open and I'm still in my sandbox session from the last time. So we closed the previous lesson by asking, if an object still exists in memory, how do we know if it's destroyed or not? And we need to retrieve it from a database. And then as I said, to do this, we need to learn how to use Active Record to find user objects. So let's look at that right now. So here I am in my console, and what we want to learn to do is find objects. So there are several ways, and let's start off with the first one. User.find, not comma, .find, and we give it a user ID. So there you go, as you can see, it has found user ID 1, name Tony, email tony@example.com. So that was the very first user we entered in the last lesson. Here we've passed the ID of the user to user.find. Simple enough. Active Record returns the user with the ID if it exists. And what if it doesn't exist? Well, let's take a look. User.find, let's say user 10. There we go, Active Record not found. Let's try it now for our destroyed user. And we destroyed number 3, I think, in the last lesson. Active Record not found. Now we know that the process we used to destroy a user in the previous lesson works. So the find method is pretty generic, so let's take a look at some other ways to use it. We can say user.findBy, and let's say email. So now we're passing it an attribute, Tony, and let's go with Mary. I think it was Mary@example.com. There we go, close quotation marks, close brackets. And it's found Mary who has an ID of 2. What about user.first? So the first user we ever created. There we go, ID Tony. Oh, ID 1, name Tony. We can go user.all. That's all the users in our sandbox database. How about user.last? There we go. So you can see how entering these console commands here could be translated to a UI. So if we had a list of all our users on screen, that would be user.all. And that would translate onto our UI as showing a complete list of users of our application. Now that we know how to create and find user objects, we should learn how to update them. Let's take another look at the user attributes. So let's just type in user. There we go, first one. Now let's say we want to update the email address. So how do we do that? Let's say user.email equals quotation marks Tony 2020@example.com. Close quotation marks. Hit enter. So you can see I've been returned here with the new email address or with the email address I just entered, and we need to save that. So user.save. And now you can see my new email attribute here. And if I say user.email, I get the Tony 2020, the new email address is there and saved. Let's take a look with this update at the magic columns. So user.created@. What's that tell us? Created Monday the 6th at 8:20 in the morning. How about user.updated@? Updated just a few moments ago at 10:44. There is another way to update attributes, and this way lets us update multiple attributes at once. So let's say user.update name. Let's go Frank. Email frank@example.com. Getting confused between my end of quotations and my @ symbol. Hit enter. There we go. Now let's say user.name. Let's see what that returns. Frank. User.email. User.email. What's returned? Frank@example.com. Let's say I say user.find find 1. Now, as you can see, my Tony user has been overwritten by Frank. So the update method accepts a hash of attributes and on success performs both the update and the save in one step. This will fail if any validations fail, such as an invalid password or an invalid email address. If we wanted to just update a single attribute, we could do something like the following. User.update_attribute. Let's say name. What do we want to update it to? Well, let's update it to something. It's Charlie. There we go. Something we don't have already or haven't used already. And actually, I've made a typo here as I just quickly reread. I should have gone colon, name, comma. There we go. Charlie in quotation marks. Hit enter. And what's going wrong here? I spelled attribute wrong. My spelling really lets me down sometimes. I wish console had an autocorrect. There we go. Let me correct this. Name, Charlie, hit enter. There we go. Update it again to Charlie. One word of caution when using user.update_attribute, it skips validations. Okay guys, that's it for this short lesson. In the next lesson, we're going to look at user validations and how they apply to our data model. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you there.